Good afternoon, High 10 George Realty. We're very excited to have Shelley here from CRMLS to go over some of the MLS top violations so we all know how to avoid them. And I am going to send it over to Shelley. She will be sitting in this chair and driving the presentation. So Shelley, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hello.
All right. Okay, so we're going to start the share and then Shelley will take over.
Okay, good morning. Oh, good afternoon. It is afternoon already. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shelley. I'm with CRMLS. I'm in the compliance department. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about our top violations that we see in the compliance department on a regular basis. I'm also going to touch a little bit on the current clear cooperation policy that we operate under and the registered process as it relates to that, along with the coming soon status. So some of these slides I am going to be skipping over because this isn't the exact slide presentation that I was going to be using, but we'll get through it. Okay. Okay, here we go. So CRMLS is the nation's most recognized MLS. We currently have about 103,000 members, and we also have 39 participating associations or AORs. So you'll probably see yours listed here. So again, I'm representing compliance. So if you do need to reach compliance, you can reach us in one of two ways. Number one, when you log in, you can click on compliance at the top here where we've highlighted it. Or when you're in your dashboard, you can go over to the left-hand side and click on it there. In either case, when you get into the compliance portion of our website, you are going to find a wealth of information. There's lots of resources. There's lots of FAQs, a full set of our rules and policies, our citation policy. Anytime there's a change to rules, they'll be posted here. You also can reach us via live chat by going into the compliance section of the website. We in compliance don't take inbound phone calls. We don't speak to people on the phone simply because we need to keep all of our documentation in written form, but we do have live chat. So live chat, you are talking to a real person. It's not a bot system with just automated answers. You'll be speaking live to one of our compliance analysts. Some forms are also located on this part of our website that I'll be noting some of those during the course of the presentation today. So we do get asked where our rules come from. So initially our rules are based on model rules after CAR and NAR, but then we have additional rules within our rule set that have been developed by the CRMLS Rules Committee. So each of those 39 associations that I just showed you, each of them have one member that is an MLS Rules Committee member. So collectively, those people, all of those 39 people plus members of CRMLS get together every other month. They bring to the table anything related to rules. So if they want to see a change to a rule, maybe they want to implement a new rule, whatever the case may be, this is also the committee that determines whether or not rules come with a warning and what the dollar amount is attached to a citation in the event that you do receive one. So like I said, they come to the table. They decide what they want to move forward with. They then present that to the CRMLS Board of Directors, and that's who makes the final approval on the rules. Anything rule related is then passed down to the compliance department, and it's our job to just enforce those rules that have been voted on. So here's an example of our citation policy. It's broken into 4 columns. The first column is the rule number. The second column is whether or not the rule comes with a warning. The third column is a summary of the rule. And then the fourth column is the dollar amount that is attached to a citation, again, in the event that you receive one. So if we receive a report, we identify the rule that may have been violated. And if we determine it has been, and the rule that is assigned to that comes with a warning, we are going to reach out to you via email, and we're going to ask you to either make a correction to your listing, or we're going to ask you to provide additional documentation so that we can review it and determine if a violation has occurred or not. We give you 2 days to respond by either making the correction or providing the documentation. If you don't respond within those 2 days, we will move forward and issue a citation at that point. If we receive a report and the rule that applies to the report does not carry a warning, So warnings not allowed. You're not going to get that opportunity to either make a correction or provide us with additional information. We will just simply move forward and issue a citation at that point. So in either of those circumstances, if you ever do receive a citation, you do have to take some sort of action. You cannot just ignore it. We give you 20 calendar days to do one of two things. You can either pay the fine, and then that will wrap everything up and you'll move on, or you can submit what's called a citation review request. It's the equivalent of an appeal. It's a form on our website under compliance. You fill out the mandatory fields. The form comes back to us electronically, and then we do two things. Number one, we take the fine amount that was attached to that citation and we temporarily withdraw it. So if you choose this process, no money is due at that time. And then the other thing we do is we take the form itself, package it up with our case notes, and we forward it to your association, who has a designated committee who will review it and determine whether or not our citation was issued fairly and justly. If they determine that they're going to uphold the citation that we issued, then they let us know that. We reinstate that fine amount in the form of an invoice, and we send that back to you, and you've got 30 days to pay that. There is an additional fee if you go this route, but it's not a CRMLS fee. It's a fee that your association charges for their committee to review the documentation. You can have two types of reviews. You can either choose a written review where they just review the information from the file, or you can have an actual hearing that's virtual where it's interactive. The written review is $100. That's their fee. And then the virtual is a $200 fee. So whatever those fees are will also be attached to that invoice that we reissue to you. If you don't do either of these things, you don't do one or the other, then ultimately you could become suspended from the MLS until you either pay the fine and or make any correction that is still outstanding that needs to be made. So if you receive communication from us and you don't understand it, we get chats all the time of people that don't understand what they received. They don't understand what the warning means. They don't understand how maybe they found themselves in violation. Please come into chat and we're happy to explain it to you and let you know what your options are. So here's some of the top violations we're going to go over today. The first one is photo guidelines and restrictions. So this has to do with branding. So on your listing, none of your media or photos, virtual tours can have any branding. And branding is basically defined as any identifiable information that leads back to you as the listing agent or your brokerage, or if you're part of a team name. Any contact information that it would lead people back to, unfortunately, is not allowed on the MLS. Branding consists of all of the things that are noted here. So again, no agent, broker, brokerage names, photos, or logos, no phone numbers, website addresses, email addresses, no photos with for sale signs, no messages, no pictures that have a message on them, no photos that have like a text overlay with maybe contact information. All of those things would be found in violation. Biggest offender here are for sale signs that have been captured in photos. So your exterior photo that you need to take, your yard sign's already up, you capture that photo with the yard sign, and there's all your identifiable information. So those are immediately taken down, and it's a $250 fine. So just make sure that you're really looking at all of your pictures before you make your listing active, so you stay in compliance. When it comes to images of people or animals on the MLS, if you just stay away from including people or animals in your photos, then you'll always be in compliance. Any photos with children will be immediately removed. Be careful of photographing, or your photographer photographing living rooms, family rooms that might have photos on the wall of the family, children in the photos, people in the photos. When it comes to people, if the people cannot be identified, they're not recognizable in the photo, maybe they're far enough away that they're almost blurred, pixelated, that's probably going to be okay. It's truly a case-by-case basis, so I can't say definitively black and white, yes, this is, if they're not identifiable, or if they are, there are certain situations where that might not apply. But again, just don't include them in your photos and you'll be fine. Same thing with animals. If you're going to capture animals in your photos, just make sure that the property you're representing is included in those photos. So if you're selling a ranch style property, maybe there's a barn or there's a horse arena, and there's horses or some sort of livestock, but it makes sense with the photo because it's the type of property being sold, probably going to be okay. We don't want to see just a close-up of an animal.
But the photos on the wall, the chimney display.
No,
inside
because
the house.
you would most likely be capturing the room. And if if there's a photo, now people and animals are different in this situation. So if it's an animal of their favorite pet horse,
Right.
but you're showing the living room,
Right.
that's okay,
That's okay.
because you're showing part of the property. Yeah,
okay.
that's fine. Let's see. So here's an example of what would be acceptable if you had to have people in your photos. So obviously none of these faces are identifiable, but this would not be acceptable. So these faces are way too clear. Someone might be able to recognize them, and these would be found in violation. Here's an example of animals. So as you can see, it's obviously the style of the property is there. It tells you that it's a ranch style property. You can see the structure in the back. Makes sense that horses would be grazing in a front pasture of a property like this. This is what we don't want to see. This would not tell us anything about the property being sold. This could be on the road 2 blocks down that you just passed on your way to the property. So again, just make sure you're incorporating the property itself. Okay, under the same rule, this has to do with copyright issues. So this is a big one. Our fine amount on these violations is $1,500. It is so steep because we want to make sure that you really understand copyright issues. We do our best to make it as simple as possible, but there have actually been lawsuits out there, not involving us or anything to do with us, but just in general between photographers and realtors that can be quite excessive in settlements. And so we try and do our best to educate you on this. So basically what copyright issues boil down to is 2 things. Number 1, who's the creator or the owner of the content? And number 2, do you have the correct permission to use that content? So 3 scenarios here. Number 1 is if you take the photos yourself, do you need permission from anyone to upload those to the MLS? No, you do not, because you own those. You can do what you want with those. Scenario number 2 is if you hire a photographer, even if you don't pay them or don't pay them, it doesn't matter. If a photographer takes the photos on your behalf, do you need written authorization to upload those to your listing? You do. Just because you paid for them does not mean that you own them. The photographer is the creator or the originator, and so they own those. They have to grant you authorization to use those in writing. The authorization must be granted before you upload those photos to your listing. It also needs to, you also need to obtain originals. So no sending, exchange, you have to obtain the originals. So those are the 2 things if you're going to hire a photographer that you need. You need originals and written authorization. Now, some photographers have their own written authorization in place. We have reviewed many of these over the year, and we've come to the conclusion that most of the time they protect the photographer more than they protect the agent. So we don't really recommend that you sign those unless you really read through them and make sure that you're comfortable with them. We do have a form on zip forms. It's called the PIA, or the Property Images Agreement form. That's a very simple form. You can pull it from zip forms. It's pretty easy to fill out. There's space to make special notes. If your photographer wants to make a special stipulation, or you do, you can do that on there. It's not a required form. That one's not. It's just a recommended form to make it easy for you to obtain some sort of written authorization. Any authorization you do obtain, you don't need to turn that into us unless we ask for it, but you do need to have it in your files. Moving on to scenario number 3. So if you want to use photos from a prior listing or another website, usually this has to do with a prior listing. So maybe you have a new listing, you go into the MLS to see if the property sold before. If it did, maybe you like all of their HOA photos, and it'll save you time to not have to go out and take HOA photos or whatever the photos are. You are allowed to use those, but you need to take the necessary action to get the appropriate authorization for that. So you need to find out who took those photos originally. Was it the previous listing agent, or did they hire a photographer? Whoever it was, that's who you need to get the originals and the written authorization from. So let's say it was a previous listing agent, they took those photos themselves and they're fine with you using it, they're fine granting you written authorization. They still need to give you originals. You cannot go into that previous listing, even though you have authorization to use those photos. You can't go back to that listing and pull the photos from there. You have to get the originals. If you pull the photos from there, it's the same as not having any authorization. It's going to be a $1,500 fine for copying those photos. We'll know that they're copied because of the watermark in the bottom right corner. So anytime a new photo is uploaded, it generates a watermark. If you copy them from the other listing, you're pulling that watermark over. Your listing thinks that you're loading an original. It's generating another watermark. And now you've got a double watermark, overlapping watermark. And so if we receive reports that someone's using photos that I didn't give authorization to use, that's the first thing we look for. We look to see, did they copy them from that listing without authorization? So bottom line, always use originals and always get written authorization and you'll be in compliance. Same thing with, can you use any images from Google, Bing, Yahoo, Getty, or other third-party images? No, same thing applies. You have to have the appropriate written authorization to use them. You're never going to get to the right person within any of those companies to give you the appropriate written authorization. Biggest offender here that we see has to do with Google Street View. So you don't have time to go out and take your exterior photo that's required. So some agents go into Google, they pull up the Street View. They use that as their exterior photo. That's going to be a $1,500 fine and we will take it down. You had a question? I don't know how. This isn't my thing, so
I got a question.
yes.
This is Buddy. I'm attending the class virtually. With regards to the photos taken, for example, like condominium complex, you take the photos of the gate, entrance gate of the community that has the name of the community. Uh, is that allowed?
Yes, because it pertains to the property, but you will need to caption it. So any photos that are not specifically of the structure or the property for sale do need to have a caption. So if there's a photo of the HOA tennis courts or pool, you need to caption that photo HOA pool, HOA. So in this case, it would
Okay.
be, you would note something about it being the entrance to the property. Or
Okay.
the marquee of the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Uh-huh. All right. So we're moving on. There we go. Okay. So the highlighted small box shows what a double watermark looks like. So sometimes this one happens to be a small watermark and then a larger one over the top or vice versa. Sometimes they're actually paired more perfectly, and it can be hard for us to tell, but we have ways of knowing if a photo has been copied or not. This is the property images agreement form. Again, it's in zip forms. It's just recommended, not required. And again, any authorization that you get in writing, keep it in your folders. You do not have to, or in your file, you do not have to turn it into us unless we ask for it. Okay, exterior photograph requirement rule. So if you have a new listing, you have 2 calendar days to upload at least one photo of the exterior of the property. That photo has to be it has to entail a substantial portion of the property. So not just a front door. I have some examples in just a second, but not just a front door. We need to know what the majority of the property looks like. That photo, one exterior photo, has to remain on your listing at all times for all statuses. So it doesn't matter if your listing closes escrow, it expires, you put it on hold or withdrawn, you always need to leave at least one exterior photo on your listing. Let's see, there's only one exception to the requirement for the exterior photo, and that is, I'm sorry, there's 2 exceptions. One is if your listing agreement completely cancels within 2 days of you having entered the listing, we're not going to require that you put a photo on there. And the other is if there's a if your listing is a business opportunity, meaning just a business. Sometimes there's not a 4-walled structure that gets sold. They're selling just their business. There might not be anything to take a photo of. So those don't require exterior photos. The exterior photo does not have to be the front of the property. It can be the back of the property if you prefer that. And it also doesn't have to be the first photo on your listing. As long as you have an exterior photo somewhere within your slide deck, then you're going to be in compliance. So here's an example of a substantial portion of the property. Obviously, this one happens to be the back of the property just because it was a pretty picture. That's why we picked it. This is not an acceptable photo. So this could be, these are obviously some sort of condo or townhome units. We don't know that the property being sold is really that door. And it doesn't matter if it has, you know, a unit number or anything like that on it. That's still not a substantial portion of the property. This looks more like a Amazon delivery package photo. So again, substantial portion of the property on your exterior photos. Okay, removing photos after you have finalized the listing. So finalized means closed, leased, expired, or canceled. If you want to remove photos other than the exterior photo, you must do it before you put the listing into one of these statuses. Because if you go into one of these statuses and you close out your listing, we cannot go back in and make any changes for you. We can't remove any photos. We get a lot of requests for photo removal from new buyers that don't want their property on the internet anymore. We actually have a rule that states that we can't go into this listing and make any changes. Everything at that point becomes historical data of when the listing was finalized. So the only thing we can do when we get these requests is we can turn off the syndication feed. So it's the internet, yes or no. We can turn that off for you, even though it's finalized. And the photo or the listing will no longer go out to the third-party sites as a sold listing. It won't go out anymore at all. However, it could still be out there on those third-party sites when it was active and being marketed. So at that point, we don't have any say-so. We can't tell realtor.com that they have to take those photos down. You would have to contact them directly. But if our syndication feed is off, that listing is no longer going out public. Okay, away from photos, inaccurate information. This is pretty simple. It's basically just make sure that the information you're entering into your listing is true and accurate. You did some sort of good faith effort to make sure that the listing information is true and accurate. Be careful when you're on your description tab and there's all those boxes of the features of the property that you're not going through it too fast or missing something or checking something that you shouldn't check. This covers a lot of things. First of all, this does have a warning. So if we get a report, we are going to reach out to you and ask you to correct whatever it is that is deemed incorrect. The biggest offender here is map pin location. Yeah, map pin location. We get inaccurate map pins all the time, reports all the time. It's pretty simple because I'm pretty sure, I haven't been in there in a long time, but I'm pretty sure you can just click a thing that says pin it and be done. But for some reason, a lot of people, I guess, want to pin it on their own and they don't do it correctly. So that's one of the biggest offenders. The other things that can be considered inaccurate are inaccurate area that is selected, bedroom and bathroom count. Those get transposed sometimes. Lot size, sometimes acreage is selected instead of square footage, things of that nature. So simple things, but it does happen. The other thing that can be considered inaccurate is listing status. So we get quite a few reports from buyer's agents that they are under contract on a property and the listing agent has not changed the status on that property within the 2 days as they're required to do. So make sure that if you are the listing agent, you are correcting that status if you have a final accepted offer. I'm sorry?
Any penalty if the.
So you're going to get a warning and you'll have 2 days to make the correct or to change the status. And if you don't change the status, then you will get a citation. Yes.
To business days?
No, calendar. Okay, under inaccurate information is also auto sold. So when you have an accepted offer and you go in to change the status within those 2 days, like you're supposed to do, there's going to be a mandatory field for the estimated close of escrow date. You're going to have to put a date in here and you're going to have to make sure that you keep an eye on this date, because if this date arrives and you haven't changed the status on your listing, then the system after 5 days of that date is going to close your listing out and you won't have access to it. You're going to have to come to us. We're going to send you to a form on our website. Then you're going to have to email that form back. We're going to have to review it. It can be quite some time, and this whole time you're locked out of your listing. So if you know that maybe you put in September 30th and on September 28th, escrow tells you we can't close till October 15th. It is your responsibility to go in and update that estimated close of escrow date to October 15th. Solely your responsibility. Some agents think that they just leave it, if they close escrow on a property, that they can just leave it and it will close itself. Well, it will close itself in auto sold status and you will be in trouble. So make sure if you just close escrow, go in and change that date, close it out. We try and help you remember that this date is approaching. We send you probably very annoying emails, but they're for a purpose. So we start 14 days ahead of time telling you in 14 days, your estimated close of escrow date is going to be here. And then based on this schedule, we send those emails out. This is the most easily avoidable violation that we have, but we get them every day. Every day we get auto sold violations. So just make sure that you're paying attention and remembering what that date is, whether it's an alarm or however you want to remember it. Moving on to public
Sorry,
rate.
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You send these notifications to the agent and to the broker.
Mhm. Public remarks restrictions. So this is your property description field, public remarks, property description. It's the same thing. This is a public facing field. Please remember that. Do not put information in here that we do not want the public to see. Things such as what are listed here, gate codes to communities or to a specific property like a front door. No showing instructions. Don't put when the seller's home and when they're not and when it's available to show and when it's not. Showing instructions go in showing instructions or private remarks. No compensation information, obviously. No lockbox information. You can put that in private remarks or showing instructions. Do not put it in here. We don't want the public knowing where the keys to the property are. Please don't note in here that the property is vacant. There's a field for that as well. No email addresses, phone numbers, agent or brokerage information. This could be branding. No open house information. There's special fields for that. And then no language that violates applicable fair housing guidelines. So on our website under compliance, we do have a list of words and terms that we have collected over the years that have been reported and determined to be okay to use caution when using, and then do not use. It's not official from the Department of Housing. It's just a list that we have populated to help you. And that is the list right there. So phrases to avoid, phrases to use with caution, and then acceptable phrases. And you can find that on our website under compliance.
Really?
Yeah.
You said you have 2 days to correct the deficiency, but what if the deficiency was notified to you on Friday? And the next day will be Saturday and Sunday, and you know, the MLS now working on the weekends, where you have no chance to contest your accuracy.
It's always 2 calendar days. The only time that it's 2 business days is when it gets into the clear cooperation, and I'll go over that. But yeah, it's 2 calendar days.
Yeah, so calendar days, you don't have much time to do that.
Yeah. You can talk to your MLS rules committee member at your at your association. So syndication remarks field, this is going to populate whatever you put into your property description field. But here in this field, you can add identifiable information. So you can put your website in there. You can put your phone number in there. It does get syndicated out to third parties, but if they have a filter on their end that blocks phone numbers or blocks email addresses, then it's not going to get out to the actual internet. But this is where we allow you to do so. If you have a virtual tour that you want that is considered to be branded, so maybe you want to appear in it, you want to introduce yourself, you want to walk through and show the property. Maybe at the end of the virtual tour, you want to put a pop-up with all your contact information saying, for more information about this property, contact me. Whatever it may be that considers it to be branding, you can have a branded virtual tour, but it has to have a separate URL. Okay, it can't have a URL that goes on the listing if it's a branded tour. branded virtual tour. So at the bottom here, this field is where you would put that branded URL. And then the last rule is failure to correct a violation. So if you receive a citation from us and within that citation, we asked you to make a correction to your listing and we gave you those 2 calendar days to do it and you didn't do it, you will receive a second citation for not correcting the violation when we asked you to. Within this second citation, we are going to ask you again to please make a correction to your listing because that's what we're here for. We're trying to keep the data within the MLS as accurate as possible. So that's why we're always asking you to make corrections. So we're going to ask you again within this citation. We're going to give you another 2 days. And if you still don't make the correction, we're not going to issue anything to you anymore. But we will issue to your broker of record or your office manager a citation for $250 with no warning for failing to supervise. And how and why we do that is because all of the communications that were sent to you, they are copied on. And they at that point should be stepping in and finding out what's wrong, why are you not complying with what it is they're asking you to do, et cetera. So they'll get a citation for $250. If they choose not to pay it, maybe they're mad, maybe they think they don't deserve to have to pay it, what have you. They could ultimately, as the broker, be suspended from the MLS. And if they get suspended, then everyone operating under their license loses their access to the MLS until the broker makes it right. Okay, so don't ever let it get to that point. On occasion, it does. We've had it happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but we've had it happen. But yeah, please just don't let it get to that point.
Mostly it's a one-man company, so broker is.
Okay, so moving on, we're about halfway done, a little more than halfway done. So mandatory delivery and submission of listings. So this is the clear cooperation policy as it exists with CRMLS. It only affects vacant vacant land and lot listings or residential 1 through 4 unit properties. Basically, what it says is that if you have a valid listing agreement, but you're going to choose to not put that listing into the MLS or you're going to exclude it, you cannot market that listing to the public. Okay, so what is considered to be marketing and advertising? It's all of the things here, and you can't market it to the public. So who is the public? Easiest way to look at who is the public is it's basically everyone. There's only 2 exceptions to that. The first one is if you have a client that has signed within the last 12 months, I have to always read this, disclosure regarding real estate agency relationship form or the AD form. If you have a client that has signed that with you within the last 12 months, they are not considered to be a member of the public and you can market an excluded property to them. The other entity is another agent under your same broker's license. So usually within the same office, they are not considered to be a member of the public and you can market an excluded listing to them. So here's how it works, and this is where registered comes into the party. You have a valid listing agreement, you're excluding the property, your seller wants to exclude it for a period of time or maybe for the duration of the listing, but usually it's for a period of time, and then you have a start showing date of when they want to go active on the MLS. So you have an exclusion form. You still have to have an exclusion form signed if you're excluding it from the MLS. So normally, if you weren't excluding a property, you have 2 days from the effective list date of the contract to put it into the MLS as coming soon or active. But if you're excluding that property, you still have to enter it, but you enter it into our registered portal and you have those same 2 days to do so. So when you enter it into the registered portal, you can find registered on your dashboard on the far left. It says registered listings. It's very minimal. It's not like entering a regular listing. It's only about 6 questions, but you do need to enter it into there in order to stay in compliance. At the end of that process, you can choose at that time, if you're going to market it at some point, you can choose at that time to send it to the MLS. There's a button to do so. If you do that, it lands in your incomplete listings on your MLS, and you can then take it from there when you're ready or you're near your start showing date, and you can then make it coming soon or active. If you're never going to market it, then you just let it sit in the registered portal forever and ever, and you don't ever have to do anything about it. So if you entered a listing into the registered portal and you market that listing publicly while it's registered because it's excluded. falls under clear cooperation. If you market a registered listing or an excluded listing, then you have 1 business day to take it from the registered portal, send it to the MLS, and make it either coming soon or active. So if you market an excluded property and you thought that you had lots of, or your seller thought that they had lots of time, if you accidentally market it, then their listing is going to be coming soon or active, and they might not be very happy. So just make sure you are not marketing an excluded listing to the public. So to recap, registered, no public marketing. Obviously, these are not displayed in the MLS because they're not in the MLS. Registered is not even a status, it's a process. It's just something you have to do. No days active in the MLS because it's not in the MLS. No distribution through the MLS. Nobody can see these except for the listing agent, their broker or office manager, and our staff. Showings are only to those with the AD form, and then the form that's required is some form of an exclusion form. So moving on to coming soon, this is a completely different issue, has nothing to do with registered. So coming soon has its own set of characteristics. Number 1, you can only use this status. It is a status, by the way, it's in the MLS. You can only use this status though for 21 days. You don't have to use all 21 days. Let's say your seller signs the listing agreement, signs the coming soon form and says, okay, I want to go active in 10 days. You enter it that way. You put your start showing date as 10 days. But maybe they come to you after 5 days and they say, you know what, I'm ready to go sooner. You can go into your coming soon listing, change your start showing date, and make it active at that point. Opposite works as well. If they're not ready after 10 days and they need 10 more days, you go in and just change whatever that date is. You can do anything within those 21 days. But if you initially go into coming soon and you just give your start showing date as day 21, but maybe day 21 comes and your seller's not ready and you don't update that by putting it on hold at that point, which would be your only option, the listing on day 22 will automatically go active and the days active in MLS will start. So just again, be aware, you've got to watch your dates and make sure that you're keeping up on them. So you are allowed to market the property while you're incoming soon, as long as the marketing materials or whatever it is says actually coming soon and whatever your start showing date is. The only exception to that is if you have a yard sign, you do have to note coming soon with a writer, but we're not going to make you try and come up with a start showing date to attach to your yard sign. That's a little difficult to do. So we give you a pass on that. These are displayed in the MLS, so any criteria, search criteria could populate coming soon listings. While it's in coming soon, the days active in the MLS do not accumulate. They don't start until the listing goes active. These only go through the MLS. We only distribute these. We don't send these out on syndication feeds to third parties. We used to. We do not do that anymore. So I get people that say, but I see coming soons on Realtor. Well, you probably do, but it's a different MLS. If you look at the source, it shouldn't ever be CRMLS. You have to have a coming soon form, which I will show you what it looks like and where to find it. And then the biggest thing to remember with coming soon is, unfortunately, while it's in coming soon, you cannot show the property. Nobody can show the property, not the seller, not a listing agent, no buyer's agents. Someone can't walk up to the front door and say, hey, I want to buy your house. You got to notify the listing agent. They're going to have to take it out of coming soon and make it active or active under contract if anybody wants to see the property. So showing of a coming soon is so critical, or not showing a coming soon, that it has its own rule. It's rule 9.3. So basically everything I just told you, the property shall have no showings or tours. Let me back up. I know I mentioned hold, from coming soon to hold. So hold has the same characteristics as coming soon. So if you have to put your property on hold, you are still allowed to market it, but you cannot show the property while it's on hold. Okay. And here's the coming soon form. So this is a mandatory form if you're going to use coming soon status. You do need to have this signed before you enter a listing as coming soon. If you enter the listing and then the coming soon form, if we ask for it, if it's dated after you entered the listing, you might as well have not had the form. So please make sure that if you're using coming soon, you're using this form. It is on our website under compliance. It's also, it's in zip forms, but it's super difficult to find. I don't know why they make it so difficult, but I just recommend that you go to our website under compliance and you can just click on it and it's up. Please make sure that your seller signs this before you use coming soon and that they understand what it is that they're signing. It does note the no showings and the 21-day limit.
So without the seller signing the form, we cannot submit it as a coming soon.
Nope.
Right.
And then hold, as I just explained, you cannot show the property, but you can market the property. And you also, if you're going to go from coming soon to hold, anytime there's a status change, you always have to have documentation signed by your seller that they're allowing the status of this listing to go from this to this. You always have to have that. Yeah, do you have a question?
But the coming soon sign form does not have to be submitted today.
No, you don't, no,
CRMLS,
yeah.
And how do they know that you don't or you do it?
Only if we request it, yeah. So you don't have to, you have to have the coming soon form, but you don't have to turn that into us unless we ask
Only when
for it.
they are, then when they suspect that you don't have a form.
Right.
Then they require you to show it, you don't show it, and then you get a violation.
Right, right. And then the citation policy for the clear cooperation, the registered and showing of a coming soon is different than the first citation policy I showed you where the dollar amounts were set. This is actually, it started out as a percentage of the list price, but we have put parameters on it. Those violations could be a minimum of $500 all the way up to $2,500. So they're pretty steep. So just make sure that you're not publicly marketing an excluded listing, that you are not showing a coming soon, and that you're entering within the 2 days. Okay.
Sometimes I see agents for sale sign in front of property and you go to MLS.
And it's not there. So you can take a picture of that as long as you incorporate, as long as we can see the address and the property and the sign, and you can send that to us and we will investigate that. Okay, so we're wrapping up here. So just some other advantages of being a member of CRMLS. If you're a broker, we have lots of different broker resources for you. We have a dedicated phone line where one of our compliance analysts actually does answer, and we'll talk to you. We have complimentary presentations for your office, such as today. And then we also have a monthly broker newsletter that has all sorts of tips and tricks. Education. So if you go to your dashboard and you click on education at the top, that's going to take you into their part of the website. There you can find all sorts of good tools, primarily webinars that are available, upcoming webinars, and that covers trainings, but it also covers all of our products that we have available to you to make your job easier. Trainings on how to do a proper CMA. There's all sorts of webinars there that you can register for. And then if you go down toward the bottom, there's actually recordings of webinars that have already existed, and you can find the topic that you're looking for. So it's a good page to know about. Support, this is our customer care department. So when you do call in, if you're having trouble, they're more systems oriented. So if you're having trouble logging in, maybe your password's not working, or maybe you're entering a listing and you're getting a red pop-up or a warning, things of that nature, this is who you would talk to. They are there 7 days a week. There's the phone number that you can call, and those are the hours. You can reach them also by chat, and then you can also submit a ticket through their portion of the website if you're having an issue and you can't reach anybody. And then compliance, we're the last ones. So we get about 3,000 reports a month. We have a lot to do. We never make it a process to go in and open up the MLS and start looking for violations. We do not do that. We only process the reports that we receive. Most of those are received from the listing itself, where there's that button that says report a potential violation. That's where the majority of our reports come from, and that's what we investigate. We do investigate every single report that we receive. And sometimes there's nothing there, and so we just close them out. But we do not make it a practice to go in and look for violations. We're there Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4 if you have questions via live chat. Again, our website, the compliance website, is the best resource for you. There's all sorts of information there. It's called Knowledge Base, and if you click on it, it's just one of the buttons there. It gives you a search bar, and you can type in anything that you want. You can type in top violations, you can type in registered, and it's going to bring up every process or every document or resource that we have on that topic that you've typed in. So use our website. It's very resourceful. And then you can also reach us via email. So you can send us an email anytime. You can send us reports like that. Sometimes if we're requesting documents, then you're going to send it back to there. It's about a 24-hour turnaround on our emails. We try and make it less, but at the most it's 24 hours. And then if you have any questions on last year's, the NAR settlement regarding compensation and all of that, this is a great page on the CRMLS website. They've put together quite a good library of videos, our CEO talking, our head of our legal counsel. They've done a couple of videos explaining the settlement, how CRMLS reacted to it, et cetera. So highly recommend that. It also covers the concessions fields that were implemented, things like that. And then finally, if you want to just have some fun, you can go to the compliance page on our website. We do have a quiz there. It's 20 questions. It's just kind of fun to play with. So it basically covers mostly what I talked about today. Some offices use it as like a team building tool or what have you. But it's just kind of fun to know about and go ahead and take that. And that's all that I have. So any other questions? Any other questions? Yeah.
So when you hit that click, report a violation on the screen, it doesn't tell the person whether it was addressed, if we don't know if it was submission.
It's completely anonymous. And so I can't remember if we've changed the process. You used to get an email back that said your report was received. You're not getting an email?
No, I've never heard anything.
Yeah, you should get an email that says your report was received and is being processed, but you will never be notified of the outcome. We don't notify the reporting party of the outcome of the report.
Maybe.
You should, yeah, you could come into chat and ask, did you guys receive my report? Yeah, you can always do that. Use the chat proactively. Don't wait until you get negative communication from us, like a warning or what have you. If you're not sure about whether something is in compliance, maybe you're not sure if your photo is in compliance, if your public remarks, maybe send that to us, bring it in chat or send it to email, and we will go over it. We would much rather have you come to us first to make sure than for us to go through the process of an investigation and back and forth with you. So use chat as a positive. Email too.
It's interesting to know that the CRMLS doesn't actively go into looking for the violations. It was reported by our fellow agents.
It's usually
all of them.
your peers.
Oh
Yeah.
my God! Now, who has the time to
No,
go around and look for it?
Because every listing, at the bottom of every listing, it has a link.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who has the time to report it to him?
You would be surprised.
A lot of people.
We have a lot of people that apparently they spend a lot of time doing that.
2,000 per month, you said, right?
My listing get reported the
Really?
one time.
Yeah. All right. Well, everything I talked about today can be found on our website under compliance. So if you want to know the top violations, coming soon, clear cooperation, anything like that, you just go in and under compliance and you'll find everything I talked about today.
So much.
Okay, yeah, you're
Let me take you off.
Shelley
Okay.
Walsh,
Is this
Okay.
Walsh? Yeah.
Thank you.
SH.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Very informational.
Sure, I have everything. Good. I hope it was helpful.
Thank you, High-10 George Realty, for attending. I'm sure we all learned a couple of things through this presentation. Thank you, Shelley. It was well received.
Yeah, thank you.
See you all on Monday. Have a fabulous weekend. Bye-bye, all.